A good day to you, everyone. My name is Bricky. Welcome to Fireside Bricky today. It is 2:57 p.m. Thursday, January the 19th. I myself have just finished off a bowl of flame broiler. That is half and half chicken and Angus beef, a little bit of a post-workout meal, and I am sipping on some coffee. Almost done with that coffee, actually, but because it's almost 3 o'clock p.m., I don't want to go too late into the day drinking that. But that's where I'm standing now. I hope you yourself have enjoyed yourself a fine meal or beverage this time, and I hope you're doing so and watching this right now. I have tried to revitalize Fireside Bricky multiple times in the past, and mostly to fail, mainly because I have lost things to talk about. However, I've decided instead to create a server, a little channel in my Discord that allows you to ask questions. If you are not a part of my Discord, you can find it down in the description of this video. Anyway, I was looking at mainly for questions from a lot of you and things that go a little bit deeper than the average stuff, more than the classic, what is the next video going to be about? What is it like doing X or Y? Something a little bit farther, digging a little bit deeper, I'd say. I apologize for my voice. I'm getting over strep throat and I am a bit nasally as my nose seems to still be stuck with some kind of viral infection. But with that being said, let's chat. I'm an artist by trade, but find myself nearly incapable of sharing works, online or otherwise. What advice do you have about that bravery when it comes to sharing a part of yourself and what you work on? So this is something that I struggled initially with a lot when I was painting Warhammer miniatures, and of course, a little bit when it comes to the actuality of my channel. However, I was not so scared when it came to my actual YouTube channel way back when, because it was mainly for a hobby to begin with. And more importantly, I knew that uploading videos way back then would go to a grand total of 0 people, because I was a new channel with no subscribers or anyone who knew I existed. So there wasn't a whole lot of fear in that, because I know nobody was looking. When it comes to things like Warhammer miniatures and stuff, it really comes down to the single quote, the one you probably heard a few times before, but it's the one: don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Or sometimes there are other things like done is better than perfect. There's a bit of like humorous levels of how you want to describe this kind of statement, because it all kind of boils down to one thing, which is just damn do it. There is a whole lot of mental insecurity that I think a lot of people have, no doubt added due to the advent of social media. But if you wanted to find any person significantly younger than you, be an expert at the thing you want to be good at, you could find it. If there's any kind of exciting hobby or something that you like and you want to be good at, you can go online and find 1 million people who are way better than you will ever be at it at half your age. And that's not a bad thing in any right. It's no doubt that those people who are in those videos have practiced a significant amount, but you're comparing yourself against them because it's such easily readied information. You said to yourself that you are an artist by trade, and I myself I wouldn't call myself an artist, but I do some artwork, I suppose. I would call miniature painting art to an extent. Different kind of art, sure, but it's still something. Now, for me, I don't paint miniatures for a job. I do it for a hobby. I do it for fun. And I know for a fact that my minis are not bad, but they are also nothing amazing. They are in between levels of okay and good. However, a lot of the pride comes down to the fact that I know I am the one who painted the miniature, and a lot of it went towards the direction I decided to take it. For example, if we look at something like my Night Lords, I'll go ahead and post a picture on screen of one of them right now. Now, the mini itself is not extremely well painted or anything. It's got some issues here and there. Some places didn't necessarily get the paint the right way. And when it comes down to the overall color scheme, it's a bit dark and could use a little bit of extra work on it. But I'm still pretty proud of this miniature, proud enough to the point where I am currently showing it to you on screen. The thing is that sometimes the idea is a lot more important than perfecting it, because perfection can honestly sometimes be just a bit boring. Sometimes the little bits of nicks and dings give it personality. For example, the miniature that you're seeing here is actually standing on top of what looks like a little bit of a cobblestone path. That cobblestone path are actually bits of the sprue, the side parts that hold it together, that I have snipped out and actually used to go ahead and paint the bottom of it. The idea that Night Lords are a group that likes to take away and steal things and reutilize stuff. The idea of reutilization and scavenging by using the sprue felt like a cool idea to me. And then the weird liquid you see is just epoxy that I use to make a pool of blood, because blood, and I think it's cool. That idea is not a very pretty base. It's obvious those are sprue pieces. They're not cut very well. They're not painted extremely well, and the blood is kind of in a weird spot, and pool's kind of funny. But it's interesting to me, and I like the idea, and I think it's fun. And that alone makes me very pleased to share it. All in all, when it comes down to the idea of sharing your work online and having that real difficulty to do so, there are two ways to look at it. One way is everyone starts somewhere, and if you don't start now, you never will. Say you're an artist by trade, and I'm assuming if my English educational system has not failed me, that means you do it a bit for work, right? Because a trade, right? There's a little bit of money to be made there. I hope, God, I really hope that's the case. Well, let's pretend like you are. There is no way you're going to expand yourself and get more clients if you don't show it. So you can see it as necessary evil. On the other side of things, you're starting out. And if you're starting out and new to it, no one's going to see it to begin with. So what's really the harm in just posting it there for yourself? And maybe someone comes along a little bit later. So depending on which way you want to look at it, there is still a decent argument that no matter what, putting it on there, forcing yourself to put it on there is important. Important for you, important for prospective clients, regardless. The bravery is unfortunately not something that can be satisfied by psyching yourself up. The bravery comes from telling yourself it's 3 clicks of a mouse and I'm done. Set yourself a goal. Set yourself perchance a congratulations reward, something of that nature. Every time you post one of these things, you do something for yourself. I don't know, go get yourself some ice cream for chance. Reward yourself in some way for being brave like that. And then when you get fat off the ice cream, start working on that part and be brave in that way. Artists have a really hard time sharing their work sometimes because of fear of ridicule. And on the internet, that's a completely valid fear. The internet's quite mean. But at the end of the day, like I said, you can't let perfect be the enemy of good, and you can't let you can't let perfect get in the way of done. Done is better than perfect. The amount you have to gain is so substantially higher than the amount you can lose. So at the end of the day, the answer is really just, you got to do it. I really appreciate you asking that, by the way. So many people are making a lot of money doing freelance stuff, artwork nowadays, whether it's subtle animations, commissions, that kind of thing. And especially in these times, as in this current political combined with socioeconomical climate, the ability to have a freelance project, to have a talent that you can utilize as a side gig for yourself, I think is really darn important. And so being able to lean into that is good. I mean, hopefully you don't burn out and have a hard time that way, but it is a good thing to have at the end of the day. So there are most likely lots of people who have a similar problem like this that you do. And so it's a good thing to discuss, absolutely. What was it like stepping into YouTube, and what stood out to you about the climate at the time? What was it like initially trying to fit in? And was there anything that in hindsight you consider to be a misstep during the time where you've tried finding your footing? This is a pretty great question. Overall, when it comes to the YouTube landscape, when I first started, which was 2015, I think is the time frame. I think 2015, 2014, maybe around there. It's been a bit of time. I was 19 years old. I'm currently 27 years old. And at the time, I think it was difficult to find my footing because I didn't necessarily care what I wanted to do. Kind of ties in with the prior question, which is sharing work. I myself knew that nobody was watching me, so I could share whatever work I wanted. Eventually, when I started growing an audience, I did lean into the things that they liked and they wanted, but I also like to do a lot of things I wanted myself. For example, for a long period of time, Counter-Strike Go, CSGO, and League of Legends were the 2 things that got the most views, but I actually uploaded them nowhere near as often as you might assume. You would think it'd just be League, trying to get into that. But in reality, I was actually variety for a good period of time. Just most of my long-running series, I suppose, like So You Want to Main and stuff, was League related. But really, OG viewers will remember things like one-trick guides for Overwatch I did. We had the For Honor Volcano guide was what it was called, I think. And then there was Fast Frames for Warframe, and there were so many different kinds of series. Silver guides for CSGO, tons of options around there. And I liked the ability to make whatever I wanted. I think when it came down to missteps, I think at some point I should have stopped being so laissez-faire with what I was doing. I should have found a way to stick to being able to play the games I wanted, but still adhere to some kind of structure. I wanted to do everything because everything was fun. I wanted to do daily videos of me playing Call of Duty and talking to the camera. I wanted to do guide videos with fancy thumbnails and comedic script writing and the like. I wanted to do top 10 lists and things I enjoyed. I wanted to stream multiple games. I wanted to do game reviews. I wanted to do Fireside Bricky. There was such a volume of things I wanted to do. And I decided to just do all of them. And in reality, what it did was make my channel very scatterbrained. And it made me feel depressed when I didn't get the views I wanted on regular videos, but at the same time would then upload random bullshit League of Legends gameplay commentary crap, and it would get hundreds of thousands. And I was like, really? Is it actually that good? The answer was no, it wasn't that good, but it was League of Legends, and League of Legends is by far one of, if not the hardest game to break free of. A lot of you watching this might still play League, and it might be surprising to you to think about, but if I were to ask you to name all 4 abilities and the passive of every 160 plus champion, you probably could. You know them all by name. You know them all by look. If I showed you pictures, you could name the champion. If I showed you the name, you could tell me what role they play, what position they go, what they build. 162 things. It's pretty ludicrous how much you have to remember for that game. So you only eat and sleep that game. Not to mention, MOBAs are not things that you can really translate. And that's one of the other big missteps. MOBAs can't translate. Because if you play a MOBA, you can't play Dota, because League players hate Dota. Heroes of the Storm is just not really an option. And Smite is third person, and I can't think of really anything else at the current moment. Now, you see, if you played Fortnite, I mean, Fortnite's Fortnite, but it's a battle royale game. You can hop and bounce between. You could go play Apex. You could go play Warzone. That's not as difficult. You won't lose as many of your people. Counter-Strike, Valorant, and Rainbow Six, same deal. You'll lose some, but not all. This is like a chokehold, a trap. League of Legends is a content trap that rewards you with an insane amount if you stick with it, but absolutely dumpsters your mental health. It is paralyzing to make content for that game. And I tried to make content for everything at once and try to have a foot in that game, but in reality, it just did not work out the way it did. I eventually tried to hop into the vlog space. I wanted to talk about my life and things going on with that. That was a terrible idea. I had this whole Bricky 2.0 thing that I thought was going to be really exciting and interesting, and in reality, I'm just not a very exciting or interesting person. And there was nothing interesting to vlog, which honestly makes sense. It's why when you look at TikTok, people are doing the most insane shit over and over again because they have to one up. They have to go higher and higher and higher and new and new and new. And there's nothing that I could do about that as a guy who just lives in his house and plays video games all day. See, what I eventually... also, side note, random stuff. Figuring out like issues with content creators and like trying to do collaborations and stuff, it's all a trap. It's all something you really shouldn't worry about or care about. You know, when you're 19, 20 years old, impressionable, don't know what you're doing with yourself, finally getting a little bit of fame and intrigue going on, a little bit of money coming your way too, your mind starts to just change quite a bit. You don't really know how to process it or how to take it, and it can go lots of different directions. Like, oh goodness, what was his name? He had the fedora. Vortic. That was his name. He would always get under the skin of so many like content creators, and especially in the League world. And it was always this big drama-fueled thing. And looking back on it, oh my goodness, it's so immature. It's so laughably like, honestly, there's no better word for it. It's cringy to think about. It makes me cringe when I think about it way back in the day. All the dealing we had to deal with, all that kind of stuff, and the bro fresco here and there memes and the Narzies memes. And I look back on it with nothing but hatred because it feels like high school drama. And I couldn't imagine being a Super Smash Bros. Creator where this is all your life is. That kind of stuff, the things that matter are not those things. You don't know how to act around people. You don't know how to speak with other kinds of content creators, who they might like, they might be like. Because making content on YouTube and meeting someone in real life or just even online is a wildly different experience that you really don't know. I became friends with people like Magikarp Use Fly, Matt, and we're still friends to this day because we're just, he's just a cool guy and we're friends. And that's great. But I've also met other League content creators that I did not vibe with or really want to work with in the future as well. And don't worry, this isn't any kind of subtext thing. I don't know if I've worked with these people in general, so don't try to go guessing on me. But the overall, like you'll find people and you'll kind of pick out the ones you do and don't like. And I mean, I'm sure some people did the exact same thing to me. I mean, I went to a ton of those parties, like TwitchCon parties and PAX stuff when I was very young. And yeah, I mean, I was like 21 years old, could finally legally drink. And oh, yeah, I was cringy. Absolutely. Talking to people, figuring out what was cool, that whole thing. Oh, goodness, it was awful. It's like when you're 14 years old and you look back on how you tried to hit on a girl in class or something, or on Facebook, and you just immediately look back at those memories and cringe. That's me when I was 21, 22, give or take. It was awful. It was very, very unfortunate. But, I mean, let's be truthfully honest. Is there any one of us who in their late teens, early 20s didn't make a fool of themselves at a bar? Truly? Well, I mean, some of you are hermits, and that's a fine lifestyle, but you get what I mean. It's figuring out what matters and what doesn't matter was a really big part that I like to think about in hindsight. If you notice nowadays, when it comes to my content, I myself have finally found a niche for myself. This kind of green screen chat review / game essay thing I do on the main channel, that's really my final understandable way to make content. The final way I could do what I want, but still give it structure. I love the fact that, in a sense, I'm making the same kind of video every single time, but I can do it on whatever I feel like. We do Warhammer one day, we go and we do Project Wingman, we do Call of Duty, we talk about zombies, we talk about all this kind of stuff here, there, and everywhere. And it allows me to create content on what I want and have structure. And all those other things I mentioned before, Let's Plays, those daily COD things, all that kind of stuff, that's what I have this channel for. My second channel is literally just for me to do things that I feel like are fun. Chat about Warhammer stuff here and there. Play through all of God of War. Just throw videos out on and enjoy myself. And have an outlet for all that kind of content. Honestly, I think every single YouTuber goes through the same kind of pains that I went through in some way or the other. How to act, how to talk to people, how to work with others, so on. Because we were all generally pretty young. And we were then given an enormous amount of, maybe not enormous, but a more than normal, an abnormal amount of money and to an extent fame. We're, not even D tier celebrities. We're like, was X tier, I don't know, very, very low. Whenever someone says the word celebrity, it bugs me quite a bit. It's a YouTuber. It's barely even the C in celebrity. But there is still some. And you can see it in many people. They just can't handle it. Very young people cannot handle this wealth of, 1, money, and 2, fame. And they cause lots of problems. Sometimes those problems can be thinking they're the hottest shit and ending up overstepping their boundaries. or worse, and unfortunately quite common, overstepping their boundaries with women. That's a pretty common one. You can see that very, very often where people who are young, attractive, have money and fame think that no one can say no to them. And that's an horrendous part of it that you will see sometimes. Sometimes they think that they're invincible on the internet and they can say whatever they want, including, say, some very bad words or some really, really, really bad takes. Or sometimes they just kind of decompose. You know, they don't know how to handle it. They can't handle it. They have a mental breakdown and they go away for quite a while or worse. It's a lot to handle, you know. Now, I do want to make it clear, the not knowing how to handle all of this different kinds of stuff does not give you any right to not understand what the word no means when it comes to any kind of sexual advance or anything. I mean, shit. When I was younger, hit on people and on bars and stuff and was probably very cringy and all that. But even drunk out of my goddamn mind, the word no is a pretty easy one. And it normally goes a little bit like, oh, okay, thanks, have a good night, and then walking away. It's not that hard, all right? I may have made a fool of myself a few times, probably. Maybe had a weird, uncomfortable situation once or twice, probably. But god damn it, even me, drunk out of my mind, knows what the word no is. Slight tangent, I'm sorry, but the amount of people, and it still goes on today, that think that they are invincible, that no one can tell them no due to their position of money, power, internet fame, whatever the hell you want to call it, is staggeringly high. And it's something that I've had to see in person a few times, and it is a gross situation to be in. Absolutely. I honestly always get a little bit frightened when any YouTuber tends to get decently large around the ages of late teens, really big, especially around late teens, because often their audience is very young and impressionable. And if they start doing these bad things like that, the audience will normally try to have their back. And you can't tell who's 12 versus 20 on Twitter, you know? So it's a dangerous situation to be in, and it's not great. It's not great. I'm glad that the biggest mistakes I made when I was a younger YouTuber was just being a little bit cringy and having bad jokes and not knowing how to talk professionally to other YouTubers and the like. And you know what? I'm pretty thankful for that. That was the worst I ever did. Everything nowadays is cataloged and videotaped and put on the internet. And you know what? I'm glad that's the worst I can think of, is that I'm just a bit cringe. But you know what? I might be cringe, but I am free. This video has already gone on for a decent period of time, so I'd like to actually answer a short and quick one. How is Pebble? Some of you may not know, Pebble was a old corgi puppy of mine. I no longer have him. He went with my ex when we separated. Not my choice in the matter, but it is what it is. As far as I know, he is happy, healthy, has friends, and is hopefully being taken care of well. I do not see him, as I am not on good terms with my ex, nor with a few other people. So I would like to see him, of course, but I am not going down that route. It is a very long and difficult story to reiterate. However, I believe he is doing well. I hope he is doing well. If you are ever wondering why you don't see him on my streams and stuff, that is the reason why. That was a bit over a year ago, give or take. But some people, they take a break from my content. They come back and they're like, hey, what's up with this? There's a new background, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, I would say a year is a long time, but goodness me, it feels like 2019 was last year. I mean, come on now. These years have gone by so fast. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the end of this little bit of Fireside Bricky, bringing it back a little bit. If you'd like to have any questions with your life and stuff going on, you may go ahead and join the Discord down in the description. And by doing so, you can go ahead and ask your questions. And I may most likely not answer them, but I might. You never know. This was 3 out of like 30 questions. So the chance is very low, but hey, you never know. It's also refreshed every single time the video comes out. So, fingers crossed. And I do wish you all the very best of your day. Thank you so much for supporting me.